Hey y'all, how you doing? It's me, Geraldine Convento, the entrepreneur guide, web and SEO strategist. Today, I'm excited to have a colleague of mine, Akanke Adefunmi, which is the founder of Claim Your Shiro and the Self Mastery Academy. She focuses on supporting female entrepreneurs to master themselves so they can dramatically improve how they show up for their clients, customers, team, and business without sacrificing their well-being. Hey, Kanke.
Hi, Geraldine. It's good to be with you. Super excited for our conversation today.
Me too. And today, the reason why I brought you onto the show is we had such a great conversation a few months ago about pivoting in business. And I felt like there's not enough people that talk about that. So what a great opportunity for us to talk about it. So first off, what does it mean to pivot in business? Just in case there's anyone out there who doesn't know what it means.
Yeah, pivoting in business to me means shifting, changing direction. It could be recalibrating. If you're in this place where you find that you've been going down this one road or working with this one niche or offering a particular service, you get to a point where you feel out of alignment with it, right? Something just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you just get to a place where you're just like, you know what, this isn't working anymore. I need to change. I am either burnt out or I am not enjoying working with this particular group of people, or my life feels out of balance or something feels off. That's the opportunity to kind of pause and say, okay, what's really going on here? And to ask yourself, really, am I aligned? Am I heading in the right direction? Is what I thought was the right direction, is that still the right direction, right? I don't know about you, Geraldine, but sometimes in business, we can be headed down one road and feel this sense of dissatisfaction or this sense of like, something's off, like I'm not enjoying this anymore. And it's okay. It's okay to pivot, to change. That's what life is about. And so I'm so glad that we're having this conversation.
Me too, because I think that needing to pivot is actually more common than a lot of entrepreneurs think, especially when you're just starting out, you're in the realm of solopreneurship, and maybe you've seen a certain amount of success and still there might need to be a pivot. And it's not always so obvious. I love how you talked about there's feelings associated with running your business. If I feel like something is off, something needs to change. Like these are things we really need to listen to. So that being said, I'm curious to know from your perspective, when do you know it's a good time for a business to pivot?
I can only speak from my experience and from the experience of clients that I've worked with. For me, I've pivoted a few times. I've pivoted audiences, programs, my business model. I've pivoted that. What happens for me is that I get into this place where I'm showing up for my business and I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling annoyed, I'm feeling like something is off here. I'm dreading having a certain conversation or doing a certain presentation, right? So for me, it's always a feeling tone first. And I believe that we create from feelings. Once I start feeling that, then I have to kind of check in and say, okay, what's going on here? For some people, their life may have changed and maybe they need to change their business model. There are people who, for a lot of coaches, and I work with a lot of coaches, right? We can get into this idea of scale, 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 right? And build these massive programs with all these people. And then I've had clients get to a point where that was their vision. And then they realize, you know what? I really don't want to have this big ass team and, all these layers and this and that. I just want to work with a few key clients each year. You get to a place where something needs to change. I work a lot with women, and when you have children, things change, right? And so I think what's important is to give ourselves permission to make a change. Sometimes we can kind of hold white knuckle a situation, hold on tight. I've been doing this for so long in this way and working with these people. And, I guess I should keep going. I need to keep going just because I've spent so much time. But you know what? What if you opened up to possibility? What if you opened up to new opportunities and all of that? You just never know what life wants to present for you.
Yeah, those are all really great points. And in fact, anything can happen at any given time. You could achieve your dream and decide, like, ooh, I don't want that, and be afraid of changing everything because you brought on this big team or you have all this
Mhm.
advertising that says you do something completely different. But everything is changeable. At the end
Mhm.
of the day, you have to be really authentic to yourself. And as long as you're expressing your true authentic self with the vision of your business and make that very clear about what you're doing now, it's
Mhm.
all good.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter, especially for new entrepreneurs who are very attached to this idea they have. I'm going to sell this product or I'm going to create this service. It's going to be so great, especially in your first few years of business. You're bound to pivot
Yeah.
because what the market is telling you may be different from
Mhm.
what actually you thought is going to happen. And I heard something recently to follow the least path of resistance. And I feel like automatically as entrepreneurs, we're taking risks. We have a lot of resistance, but look at all the possibilities, like you mentioned. What are the opportunities? What are the options that I have? And which
Mhm.
way is going to be the easiest for me that feels the best?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. What I was thinking was how a lot of new entrepreneurs, they want to get it right the first time. It's like, this has to be it. It needs to be perfect. Once I need to build this perfect machine and then put it out there. And the truth is, it's going to change.
Right.
Right. So this idea of trying to make, have the perfect niche or the perfect offering, it's going to change, guaranteed. So stop trying to
Absolutely.
make it perfect, right? And I know because I used to be there. I used to be there. Where it needs to be, everything needs to be, I dotted, T's crossed before I would make a move. And I was stuck for a long time because of that.
And if we think about why that even happens, there's so much external pressure when we choose to be an entrepreneur. Perhaps everyone around us has never owned a business. They have a very structured 9 to 5 job, and we tell them about our great idea, and they're like, oh, are you sure? You're not going to have a salary or health benefits. We have this inherent drive, or we build this ego around what we're doing. Like, no, I'm going to do this, and it has to be right, or else everyone's going to think that I failed. But
Mm-hmm.
that really doesn't matter because when it comes to entrepreneurship, this is a journey for you to become more and more resilient. Yeah, show them, you know what, I failed, but this pivot or what the markets tell me to do, I'm going to follow that and it feels right. And then show them that second
Yes.
or third iteration that totally makes you millions or whatever dream you're looking to achieve.
Yes, yes. And what I like about that is that you mentioned, maybe there might be some failure there. And it's okay. It's part of the process, right? Because from failure, you're going to learn something, a new opportunity is going to open, you might pivot. Why not just put yourself out there and try something new? Oh, here's the other thing that I was thinking. When you talked about, entrepreneurs, people in your family or people in your network, they're not used to you maybe starting this business. And so that it's so important to make sure that you are cultivating relationships with people
Mhm.
who get you, people who know that, you might be a little bit crazy, because let's be honest, entrepreneurs, we got to be a little bit crazy to step out there and consistently put ourselves out there and take these risks. So you have to hang out with your people. You got to find your people and make sure that you're sharing your vision and your excitement with those people who can hold space for that, because not everybody can hold space for your greatness.
Exactly. And I could say that even for some solopreneurs who haven't really built a network around them, maybe they're a coach or something like that, and they've been doing their business really successfully for over 10 years, but never really built that network and end up feeling like, wow, this isn't working the same way that it used to. And they feel really sad and they're not really sure what to do. But if you build that network around you, you have that support of people who can relate to you. They've
Yeah.
been through it before, and you can all share not only emotional support, but also tools and resources to get through it, which is the most
Yeah.
important part.
What just came to me was, like I said, I've pivoted multiple times over the year. Most recently, I kind of had like a mini pivot, but it was a pivot. And there was some doubt that was showing up. There was some fear that was showing up, right? Because whenever you're playing at another level, that stuff is going to rush in and be like, girl, who do you think you are? That's not going to work, right? And one of the things that I had to do, and I always remember this, is I have to reach out to my girlfriends. I have to reach out to colleagues and just talk it out. And I know they can hold that space for me. And they're like, yes, girl, you can do it. You got this. You've done this in the past. Of course, this makes total sense. You want to have those people around you that you can do that. And I've been in business for many years, and I still have to call my people when I'm making some kind of shift, right, in a new direction.
Yeah, get yourself some cheerleaders. For
Mm-hmm.
real. We both talked about a lot of characteristics of the entrepreneur, which brings me to my next question. I really loved how the last time we talked, you talked about inner pivoting, because it's not only thinking about the pivot strategy of the business, it's also the fact that you're going to go through a lot of emotional things and changes within yourself throughout the process. So can you explain more about that?
Yeah, I do a lot of work around self-mastery. And for me, self-mastery means exercising authority over your mindsets, over your behaviors, your habits, your decision-making. The reason that we have to master ourselves is because we're consistently stretching ourselves. And there are all these different parts of us that have to stretch, that have to evolve. If you're in business, you're in it to play a big game, I imagine. Then you have to look at who must you become in order to play at that next stage, right? Because who I am today is not going to get me to where I want to be in 5 years. I have to grow. I have to evolve. There are parts of myself that I have to master in order to get to that next level, right? One of the things that I am consistently like hammering home with my clients is that, okay, so this is where you are, this is where you want to be. Who's that woman that, what are the new behaviors that have to change?
Yeah.
What are the boundaries that you're going to have to start implementing? When it comes to your mindset, what is going to need to change? What belief, money mindsets have to change in order for you to continue to grow your business, to grow your career. And so it's really looking at who will you have to be, what will you have to be in order to achieve this next level of success. That is where the big work comes in. That's where the big work comes in, because think about it. If you are pivoting, if you have like a VA, right, a virtual assistant, and you want to grow your team, who do you have to become to now be this new inspiring, effective leader? Right? So there will be skills that you're going to need to grow. You're going to have to change your mindset. You're going to have to change how you communicate, all of that. And so you have to look at what parts of yourselves within are you going to have to start pivoting as well, because who you are today is not going to get you to where you want to be in a couple of years.
That's right.
And I have to remind myself of this all the time.
And it's so important to have the people around you so you could reflect back. I mean, because sometimes the changes could be so subtle that we don't even notice. We can be going through the motions and growing our business, and all of a sudden we have a team and delegating and all that. And sometimes we totally miss the fact that we're a badass. We miss the fact that we had to change to be able to manage this completely new department that exists in our business, or this completely new business that we started. Now we're a serial entrepreneur. So the awareness of self, and also having the community to tell you how you're being, how you're changing, and then just being able to envision, like you were saying, envision the future and where you want to get to and who you have to be at that time.
I have to tell you, once upon a time, I was inconsistent. I wasn't following through. I was, just grappling with imposter syndrome and all of this. And I got to a point where I had to look myself in the mirror and ask myself, girl, what are you doing? This isn't working anymore. This flying by the seat of your pants, that might be fun and all this stuff. But where you want to go, you're going to need to be planned. You're going to need to be organized. You're going to have to put some systems in place. That is the woman who's going to get you here. Not this other girl. She's cool. I like her. But you're going to need to expand that identity, right? And that's what it is, Geraldine. It's an identity expansion.
Yes.
Right. Ooh. Mm-hmm.
You better write that down.
Right now, that's a t-shirt. That's a t-shirt right there. But yeah, that's what we're doing, because we have one identity when we start our business, and over time it expands, it changes, it evolves.
Naturally, it always will, whether you choose for it to or not. It has to, in order for your business to survive. And I'll share a little bit with the audience about my pivoting story. I mean, I too have pivoted many times. I've been an entrepreneur I'm 40 now, but I've been an entrepreneur for the past 17 years. And one of my businesses I've had for almost 14 years now. We pivoted from a web development company to full service marketing, built a name for that. I did tons of networking for years. So even to this day, people call me and they say, hey, you still do that? Which is really great. But one thing I want to say about it is that pivoting looks different for everybody, because in my situation, instead of completely pivoting my services, I split my one business into 3 businesses. There are 3 businesses that really complement each other and do different things. And part of the reason why I needed to pivot that is because I would see the confused look on people's faces whenever I say that I offer this and this and this and this and this, and it just wasn't very clear. So I needed to be very clear and be able to share that one message to each of my target audiences for these different companies. People have expectation, in terms of what they subconsciously get from your messaging and from the look and feel of your business. One of my businesses is web maintenance. So my web maintenance company is going to have particular colors and brands and type of language, versus another one that's about online presence, rebuilding websites. That's going to have a completely different colors, feel, way that we talk, because they're different audiences. So splitting into 3 companies has been super valuable for me, because we are going to start structuring each one of the companies so we can add new teammates. So eventually each one of the companies have their own fully committed team while we're figuring out this whole pivot. And we've been in this pivot for 2 years now, and it's been going really, really well. I admit we haven't fully fleshed out a new team for each one of these segments that we've created, but it's just so much clearer for the customers and for everyone on my team. For those of you out there who are listening, a pivot can be anything. It could even be you just deciding, you know what, we're not going to sell that anymore. We're going to sell this. It really depends on you, your business structure, as well as who, like Akanke said, who you have to be internally to make it happen.
I love that, Geraldine. That and wow. Right? You have like splintering here and there, and it's all still within the same organization. Like you're a badass. And
thank you.
And what I kept hearing is clarity, right? The clearer you are, your team becomes clear. Your message that you're putting out there becomes that much clearer. So as long as you stay clear, then it's you can rock and roll it. Awesome.
Yeah, and it's a big trial and error process. I mean, when I first announced this, I put together a PowerPoint presentation and broke down all of the different companies and what they do in a chart. I remember the first few months, everybody's like, okay, which company is this for you? And they were so fixated on which company. And I'm like, okay, we're working on a project. Don't worry about the company, because we're all still the same team, but externally we're a different company. So really just relate to it as what we're doing. How's that? And that in itself, there's a lot of language and a lot of explanation internally I had to deal with. And finally, everybody's like, okay, cool. And now they're just asking which company it's for whenever we're talking to a client. So they know. But yeah.
That's true leadership, Geraldine. I've known you for many years now. And just to see the leader that you have become is amazing. And it shows in your team. It shows in the work that you're putting out there in the world like this. So congratulations congratulations on all of that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And, it all has to do with, I think, everything you had to say, which is figuring out what you want for yourself and your business and who you are internally. I've known you for, gosh, over 6 years now. And for those of you who are watching, the way that I know Akanke is I was at a networking event. I was working on a completely different project. It was a documentary, and I wanted to get the documentary off the ground. And when I ended up meeting with Akanke, we talked about my values. She said, are you clear about what your values are? And I'm like, what's that? And once I got really straight with that, I was actually able to rekindle my passion for the business I was currently running that wasn't doing well at the time. It was on the verge of failure because of my ego, because of my frustration and all that. I thought I was going to pivot at that moment. Actually, I thought I was going to pivot away. And I didn't. We still have that business 14 years later, which is the same one that I told you we just split into 3 businesses. Mm-hmm. And so I really appreciated working with you on my values. I still continue to think about it and use it for my decision making. It shifted a little bit, but it's really my roadmap.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that. Gosh, it's been that long. And I remember that because I remember I remember one of the things we were talking about was like, how do you communicate your values to your team? Mm-hmm. Right. So that it's not just your values, but it shows up across the organization. Right. And that's a leadership thinking there. So that was way back when your team was a lot smaller. I think it was smaller.
We had 6 people at the time, and now we have 25 people on our team.
Yes.
And for those of you who are wondering, I didn't end up doing that documentary. It was meant so Akanke and I can get together.
Yes, you've done many other amazing things in the meantime. And you know what? Like I said, I've had my pivots over the years, pivoted audiences, pivoted programs, and all of that. And even recently, this year, I pivoted in a way, right? I decided that I am going full focus working with established service-based female entrepreneurs, right? Because I had a lot of new people who were new in business, and I love all the people who are new in business and their enthusiasm and all of that. And I realized that what really fills me up is working with these women who've been in business for a while. They've seen some of the stuff, they've taken some of the risk, they're ready to play at a whole other level. And so it's, I have found that those are my yummy people, like that's my people. And so I've pivoted, my new marketing stuff that I have out there, my new message is talking to them. And it took some soul searching to do that, right? Because when you're changing, it's like, oh, is this really going to work? I don't know. What are these people going to think that I've been working with? But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what is it that you really want? What brings you joy? My Marie Kondo statement, what brings you joy? And what feels like, what fuels your soul? And what, for me, it was also, and even on a deeper level, what am I more spiritually aligned with? Who do I feel more spiritually aligned with? And that helped me to make my decision. I had to go to the forest, girl. Because I was just in the business, right? Just in it. And we can be in it so much that, we can't see the forest for the trees right in front of us, right? And so I had to go I rented myself a little cabin for a few days, and there was no internet connection there, nothing. And I just had to stop, and I had to download, some messages from spirit, from the universe. I needed to just be. And sometimes that's what we have to do, right? We have to just take time away, give ourselves permission to step away just for, I'm not saying give it up entirely, but really pausing to recalibrate. And that's what I had to do, was in that recalibration it came to me that, okay, this is where we need to go next.
Yeah, and that leads very nicely into our final question, which are tips for anyone looking to pivot. So you already mentioned recalibration and taking the time out to do that, really reflect on your whole situation and what you want for yourself. What else can people either ask themselves or do when they're considering pivoting their business?
So one thing you can do is look back, actually. Look over the last 12 months. What is it that worked? What didn't work? What do you need to start doing? What is it that you know you need to stop doing because it's just not working anymore? And what is it that you want to continue doing because it's been working out really well? Oh, and here's another thing you can ask yourself. What other approaches can I take for this next level? Once you can start getting curious with yourself, then that's when you start having those divine downloads, right? When you stay in this place of curiosity and creativity and innovation. So if you ask yourself, like, what are some other approaches that I can take to this, right? It'll help you it'll kind of open things up for you versus being kind of tunnel vision. But actually, there's so many different approaches to what it is that you're doing.
Exactly. And I feel like you don't always have to do the things yourself. Maybe you have a team already, but maybe there's strategic partnerships you could build or collaborations that you can do. There's so many other ways to either restructure the way you do business or to expand the awareness of your business to your target audiences. So make sure you're looking at it from all different angles.
Definitely. And here's the other thing I want to say. Sometimes what I'll see is that people will start their business and you want to make all this money so that you can hire this team. But really, what I have found that has worked for a lot of my clients, and I wish I had known this way back when, is make enough money to hire that first person. Make enough money. Of course, you want to pay your bills, but your next thing should be to hire that next person. Because when you can hire, even if it's a VA for a couple hours a week, or you can, hire a full-time person, that is going to free you up to have space to think bigger, to have space for that strategic planning, to have space for creativity. Right. But if you're always so in the business, it makes it harder for you to grow down the road. So that's another little tip there is grow to get big enough to hire that first person and then start focusing more on even bringing in more revenue, but get that person in there.
Well, thank you, Akanke. This was so wonderful. So many different gems that I think entrepreneurs at any level can really benefit from. I really appreciate you. And for those of you who are watching, you can click the links down below to get a hold of Akanke if you have any follow-up questions or want to check out her program. You'll probably see my testimonial on everything she does because I'm one of her biggest fans.
And I'm a big fan of yours too, sister, for real.
Great.
And it's been so wonderful spending this time with you and having this conversation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you like more content just like this. I'd love to hear your comments down below as well. And we will see you soon. Bye-bye.